going on, guys? Today we're going to install some lift spacers and a rear camber kit on this 2015 Honda CRV. About a month ago I ended up installing a set of quick struts on it, and after doing so I purchased some new wheels and tires for it. We picked up these TE reps made by 969. They're a 17 by 8 plus 35 and a 5 by 114 obviously. And we went with the same size as stock tires, 225/65, but I went with some Coopers, some AT tires, just to give it a different look. We love the way it looks. This is my wife's CRV and she really enjoys it. The only thing that I've always noticed is the rear always sits a little bit lower. It seems like on her car. I don't know if that is on most. When I look at other ones, it kind of seems a little more evened out, and it was like that before and after the quick struts. So we wanted to lift the rear end, and I bought some, there's some spacers that are 2-inch, I believe 2-inch spacers, but they don't look like it when, of course, in the sizing. And we got a camber kit that we're going to throw on to help pull out some of that camber that it naturally seems to always have on her car. So the lift spacers should be very easy to install, although they only look to be about 1.5 inches thick. These are actually advertised as a 2.5-inch lift. I'm going to measure it before and after just to kind of see. Regardless, even if it only lifts it this much, I think it'd be perfectly fine. And I reached out to Maxpeedingrods as well, and I saw they offered a camber kit for her vehicle. So I figured it'd be a perfect opportunity to put that on at the same time. We can bring the back end back out and just kind of level out both tires. And we also wanted to get the CRV aligned. It has 130,000 miles on it again. We've never had an alignment done, and we bought it when it had, I think, about 40,000 miles. So with the new wheels and tires, we want to help prolong the tire life, get as much out of those as possible. So I'm going to get these installed really quickly. Should be a very easy install after doing the work last week. I'm going to run you through it really quickly. Let's get started. When you're here at the back end, all you need to do is remove this bolt down here. This is a 17 millimeter. This is the bottom of the strut. And then right here at the trailing arm, you have 2 bolts. One's right there, the other one's right there. Take all those down. We can go ahead and get this whole thing loosened and removed. When inside the car, you have these plastic panels that usually if you can get your hand down in here, lift up, and it should start popping it out of place. There we go. Get that removed, and then down here you're going to have 2 nuts depending on what you had. Like ours used to be 14 if that was OEM, but they went to 15 millimeter size with the new nut. So you can go ahead and get that removed, and you will be able to drop the strut. With that loose, if a pry bar or something, you can usually just pry the strut out, and there you go. So with the strut off, these just go on top of it now, but you're going to need to trim some of this stud right there. Obviously we want this to sit, say if this was here, it's going to sit flat on there. So we're going to need to trim. I'm just going to measure it by looking at it here and trim a little bit off, and then just keep going from there. But we want that to be able to sit flush all the way against the top hat. Okay, and then if you measured correctly, see I still have a little bit of space between the top of the stud and there, and I tightened it as tight as I could get it all the way down so it's nice and snug. We don't want any movement. Movement can create noise. I think this should be perfect the way it's on there. But now we need to move to the camber kit. Since the strut is out of the way, it makes it a lot easier to get this installed. What I mean by that is now you have complete access to this bolt back here. You have a 17mm head there, and the other one is right here. So you just got to remove both of those, and this will be free. You can go ahead and pop out this line here. This will be something we attach to that new bracket. Just with some pliers and squeeze this clip there. Go ahead and get that removed. And with that camber arm off, you can now get your new one lined up. I don't know how this bracket's gonna work. It looks completely different than where the other one pops in. I guess I could always just put a little zip tie and put the line back on there. I'm gonna leave that on there though, so I can probably use it. What I did is increased the camber a little bit, so when I put it on, because obviously when you raise it, it's gonna bring the top in. I'm just gonna do it a little bit, that way when we take it to get aligned, he can fix it. And I leave these kind of loose. It still is able to spin. It's easier to install. And then when it's on the car, it's easier to tighten because then you're not trying to hold down each end because they're already bolted down. You can tighten up the locking nuts when it's on the car. Sometimes it's a little difficult to get pieces like this raised up. So use your jack. If you have an extra jack or the one you lift the car with initially, make it a lot easier to get the rear trailing arm up into place, and then you could get your bolt fit in there and start tightening them up. Now it's time to get your strut put back into the car. This one looks like it goes just like this. Okay. Head on. So once you have that in place, use your jack to hold it so we can get the top tightened. And then go ahead and re-tighten up the two top nuts, and you're done up there. Before we get any further, let me explain that on all of these components, do not tighten the bolts all the way. I left a little bit of space, and we're doing that because once we get everything finally all bolted up into place, we will jack up this corner of the suspension till it lifts the vehicle off the ground, just ever so slightly off of the jack stand. And then we will tighten everything. You want everything to be in the position that it's normally going to sit at, so we don't ruin any of these rubber bushings prematurely. So our next step though, we need to try getting this strut back in. So I am going to either help push this up or push the lower control arm down. I'm gonna get my hammer and try to hit on it a little bit just to get it in. Looks like it's a little stuck right there, but I think if I hammer it, I might be able to get it in a little bit easier. With the extended height and the strut now pushed out, I was able to get the bolt started. What I did, put all my weight here with my right arm, my left arm, just got it started and fed in. I should be able to get it started now. Perfect. And then that one I will tighten up here in a moment. We got to work on trying to get these closer to the body now. So I was having trouble getting that bolt through the back, so I put an impact socket on my jack and that just on the bottom of the strut, and that lined it up and I was able to get that bolt through. And now for the two front trailing arms, I like to use my jack again, get it lifted so you can get it close enough and you have room to move around. So get those bolts in there and just try to get them started, get them to grab, then we can start to tighten them up. So with both jacks, I was able to kind of line these up, got everything a little tight. Nothing is completely snug down. Went ahead and jacked up the vehicle, leave it off of the jack stand. And now you can go ahead and tighten all these up completely, because when we lifted this up, that's where the suspension is going to sit at when it sits on the ground. We want all those rubber bushings to be at this level. As for that bracket, I think I'm just going to put a zip tie around this one right here and hold it there. And then I'm going to go ahead and tighten these up also. So get your whole suspension tightened up now. And after that, you're done. Everything is now installed. I'm going to go ahead and finish up the other side and we'll get this thing put back onto the ground. Here we are with it completely finished and aligned. My wife has been driving it for about the past week or so, and give you an idea of the clearance there. And then now looking at the back. The back, it does look a little higher, but I think it looks more natural that way. You see a lot of vehicles that sit a little higher in the back. Regardless, we love the way it looks. I had the CRV also aligned, and toe was a little bit wonky here and there, but not much. My alignment guy said it wasn't too bad. He was able to set camber back to factory specs as well. But it's riding great, feels good. Steering wheel is perfectly straight again. It was slightly off a notch, but super easy to install those spacers and this camber kit. And then on the driver's side, also the ground clearance there, and the same with the back. You can see there might be a little bit more in the rear, but we like it. It looks a little more sporty now. I didn't like how it was sitting lower in the rear, but this looks fantastic. All looking pretty. You can see my wife's tires are dirty. There's a couple dirt roads that we always take to get back and forth through certain areas of the town. We have a lot of freeway construction going on now, and it's been really convenient for her to be able to do that. But we love the way it looks. Feels great. Doesn't feel anything different than stock CRV, but it just looks cooler and sportier now to us. Hope you guys enjoyed the video today. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tagging along.